Wake that ass up.
Early in the morning.
The Breakfast Club.
Morning, everybody. It's DJ MV, Angela Yee, Charlamagne the Guy. We are the Breakfast Club. We got a special guest in the building. Commissioner of Department of Small Business, Gregg Bishop. Welcome back, sir.
For New York City.
From New York City.
For New York City. Thank you for having me again.
Welcome back.
Appreciate it.
So you can give people some money to start these small businesses, right?
Whoa.
No, that's not what you can't do that.
So last year we did about $74 million.
See, that's what I'm talking about.
So an increase of $25 million from the previous year. So we're giving money away, but today it's all about Black entrepreneurs.
Yes. There's a new initiative that just launched called Be NYC. And so let's talk about that because I was actually there when you guys launched it at the Apollo.
That's right. And thanks for being there. It's so important. We focus a lot on helping small businesses, but in particular, in New York City, Black individuals make about 20% of the population, but only own 2% of the businesses. And then when we break that down nationwide, we see some alarming trends in terms of Black individuals compared to their white counterparts are 50 times more likely to want to start a business. But only half of them actually start a business. And then within 5 years, half of those that start fail. So in New York City, we are very much focused on figuring out how to solve these issues. So we launched our BNYC initiative. So it stands for Black Entrepreneurs in New York City. So what we're doing is we're going around the city, and Apollo was the first start to talk to Black individuals who either want to start a business or have started a business to find out what is it that you need. Because we want to make sure when we build programs as government, that we build a program that actually makes sense and that actually addresses the problem.
Besides the idea, what do we need to start a business? Like, what's the first thing we should do? Besides, we have the idea, we have the concept. What's next? What should we do?
So
next?
Everyone knows capital is going to be the answer, right? But
money.
It depends on what type of capital. And I really commend you guys for when you bring on candidates, especially presidential candidates, to talk about what they're doing for specifically the Black community. Because when you think about all the historic, there's a book, and we talked to, the author was there, Sean Rochester, to call it Black Tax. When you talk about all the structural, either racism or systemic issues that have prevented Black individuals from getting capital, from having capital to then start a business, certainly that plays a role in it. And, I'm not going to say, I call it modern day reparations, right? We need to figure out a way to actually help Black individuals get to that point where they do have the capital, where they do have the access to the networks. That's another thing that we know that individuals will need. And when I say access to the networks, access to someone who actually started a business.
Right.
We don't have like that uncle or that, aunt or someone who has been in business for generations and generations, and you can then learn from their mistakes. So that way you have a leg up. So we know we're probably going to have to build some programs that addresses those particular issues.
You see that a lot right now, too, with a lot of the tech startups and people working in tech. There's not a lot of Black people and not a lot of women that work in tech.
So that is one of the challenge, the goals that we're going to hopefully solve in terms of looking at particular sectors, right? Technology is one of them. Because when you look at, and, we've done outreach in different communities, and when I say in different actually events like Afropunk, et cetera, and you find a lot of Black individuals are in what we call low barrier, and it's not necessarily like a negative, but they're in retail. Retail has changed, right? So the failure rate is very high in retail, right? They're in construction. Construction flows with the market, so the failure rate is high. But then when you look at the high barrier where you need either education or more capital, like tech, or like an architectural firm, or any of those areas, we don't find Black individuals who want to start businesses. We certainly find Black individuals who are skilled to actually be in that sector. I'm joking about Hampton, but our HBCUs, we produce a lot of engineers.
Correct.
But they are working. They don't want to start a business. Right.
Very hard. Very difficult to get into.
But why is that?
Capital usually.
And that is one of the things that we're going to look to solve. So it's capital, it's access to the network, because you don't know someone else who started that tech company.
And that's
Right.
another thing.
Right.
You mean saying access to the network? A lot of people can't get in. They can't get their foot in
That's
the door.
correct.
Even if they do have capital, it's like,
Right.
well, how do I get these big deals from these huge companies,
Right.
from the airport,
Right.
from these huge companies building
It's all about
buildings?
access.
Correct.
And the
What-
SBS is so helpful with that too.
Right.
Is getting you access to that network.
But we need to do more, and we need to be very, very specific in terms of how we're going to do that. So one of the things that we did for our women entrepreneurs, for example, we spoke to about 1,500 women across New York City, and one of the things that we came out with was a mentorship program. But I'm not talking about like a one every 2 weeks you meet with someone for just like a month. I'm talking about like a year. You have access to someone who has been successful in running a business and that you can go to and talk about how can I do this, how can I do that. That's very important, and that's why that network is so important. So we know there's going to be other things. I talked about capital, but there might be a specific type of capital, like distress capital. One of the programs that we created for women entrepreneurs was creating a loan fund with a 0% interest rate for our women entrepreneurs. So we don't know what we're going to find. So we want people to go to our website, nyc.gov/BE, NYC, that's BE NYC, to actually help us not only take a survey, to help us identify the stage of business you're at. Whether you're a pre-startup, a startup, or you're actually operating your business, you're going to have different issues. And then also join our mailing list, because we want to make sure we keep you updated in terms of what we're doing. Because it's easy for government to say we're going to do this, but you need to hold us accountable to actually get it done.
One thing I think is important too, learning how to do a business plan.
Yes.
A lot of people want to get capital, but don't even have a comprehensive business plan they can actually present.
But a lot of people don't know.
Right.
Like,
so learning how to do
exactly,
that, I think, is a really important thing, because so many people have an idea.
Right.
It all starts with an idea. But now once you have an idea, have you done the research to
Right.
show how this can be profitable, how this can be lucrative, where you'll be in 5 years, 10 years, what your goals are, how much do you even need?
Right.
Because sometimes we don't even know how much capital we need to start a business.
And that goes with the access to actually mentors, right? So if you have a strong mentor in tech, if you have a strong mentor in healthcare, we're looking at green energy jobs, right? But we're also looking at those companies, right? Climate change will change New York City, will change, the United States.
They actually have the summit starting today, and it's on climate change, but Donald Trump's not going.
Well, that's a whole other. But there is a business potential with climate change, unfortunately, because when you think about it, we're going to have to retrofit all our buildings. We're going to have to retrofit our waterfronts. In Miami, you have the tide effect where the neighborhoods are flooding. So we're going to have to that means you need businesses to actually do that type of work. Right. In tech, you understand how automation is going to change our future. We need our Black community to be ready for that. In life sciences, in healthcare, there's so many different areas that are changing. So that's what we want to make sure, is that we don't get left in the technology revolution. And we're being very specific about saying Black entrepreneurs.
Now, information on business plan, like
Yep.
a lot of people, even myself, and I went to school for business and marketing, but you kind of forget. And that was the reason I had 2 businesses that failed, right?
Yep.
One was a car wash.
Yep.
But for some reason, I think when Black people come out the hood, they always think car washes are going to do well, and barbershops are going to do well, and sneaker stores are going to do well.
Yep.
But it failed because I didn't have a business plan.
Right.
Also, Hurricane Sandy had just hit, right?
And Hurricane Sandy hit and destroyed my car wash.
Yeah, that was a bad.
And 2, I had a sneaker store, and it was the same thing.
Yep.
I didn't have a business plan, so I banked it off of just me being me and being knowing celebrities. But then when the celebrity part dwindled out.
Plus, celebrities want free stuff.
Right. There was nobody else to buy my sneakers.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it failed. So how can people get information about creating a business plan, especially for people who didn't, go to college or might not have the money to get that degree? How can they get that information?
And that is one of the things that really I think is an obstacle for folks, because you have to write. And you have to think, and you have to actually do research.
Correct.
And do the work. But I guarantee you that once you do that, you'll actually be better equipped to actually deal with different issues.
You need to do that. If you're passionate about starting a business, you better get ready to do your research and do your work and have something to present and know the numbers and know how you can have a better chance of succeeding.
Correct. And I'm not one to say that you have to have a business plan, right? Because somebody will say, well, Bill Gates didn't have a business plan, right? Jeff Bezos didn't have a business plan. But I will say that you have to know your research, right?
Gotcha.
So online, you can actually go to our website, nyc.gov/SBS. You can sign up actually for online courses. We just launched that. Since the last time I was here, we launched online courses.
Nice.
So you can
Is it
actually,
free?
it is, everything is free. And you could actually go through, and these are courses from universities where you're a professor actually built out the curriculum. You're going to get held accountable to actually completing the modules, et cetera. Or you could come into one of our courses that we have here in New York City. The last time I was here, a lot of folks across the United States actually connected with me for resources in their local city. And I would say that the small business development centers are a resource. They're usually located on a college campus. There's probably one on Hampton's campus as well.
I'm sure.
Through the School of Business, whose curriculum came from Florida A&M University. But
Oh, my goodness.
I just have to put it out there. Come on, we lead. Everyone else follows.
Shout out to the real HU.
But there's a lot of free resources that you can get out there to actually help you have the building blocks to actually starting a business plan, because that is your roadmap.
Right. And one thing that you said to me that always stuck in my mind was we discussed a brick and mortar business, right?
Yep.
And one of the most important things when opening a business is to do your research and how important location is.
Correct. And there's a lot of free resources out there in terms of the demographics of a neighborhood, because one of the things, again, the reason why we're looking at being very intentional about helping Black entrepreneurs, we do find Black entrepreneurs saturated in certain particular sectors, and that saturation leads to the high failure rate, right? So we're always in retail. So you'll find a t-shirt company,
A juice bar.
The
Juice bar is doing well.
there's a lot of saturation in particular areas. So we want to make sure that we help people understand, like, okay, in this community, at least in New York City, you can go on our website, nyc.gov/SBS, and click on our reports, and you'll find an area called Commercial District Needs Assessment. We've done these reports in East Harlem. We've done it in Bushwick. We've done it all across in neighborhoods that are changing to tell you what the neighborhood needs, right? So one we did in East New York, we found like the neighborhood needs like a sit-down restaurant.
Right.
There was like a lot of fast food restaurants, but there wasn't like
I could see that because I never go eat in East New York, really.
Correct.
And that's because I can't think. And I go all over Brooklyn.
Right.
We've been out to eat in Brooklyn places.
Exactly. And you see where the sit-down restaurants
and you
are
can see
concentrated.
where they all are.
Exactly.
Sometimes it's good when things are concentrated too because it makes it a really popular, busy place.
Right.
But you're right. In East New York, they definitely could use that.
Now,
good advice.
What about for a lot of my West Indian people? A lot of people are not citizens.
Yep.
But they still open businesses.
Right.
Can it help them as well?
So that is, and that's why entrepreneurship, we know, changes generations. And the reasons why we consider all types of business, including vendors, small businesses, is because we know that if you're undocumented, that's probably the first thing that you're going to do. We do have resources that's available. We don't ask for documentation, and most of it is education. And sometimes, you need to understand how to operate within the city in terms of how to be compliant. But we want to support all small businesses because, we want to make sure that people are vending legally and not illegally. But all our resources are available to individuals. If we cannot help you, then we'll connect you to another organization that can work with undocumented individuals.
Now, another thing that I want you to explain to people, because we talk about MWBEs.
Yep.
And you actually helped me get certified.
Minority Women Business Enterprise.
Yes.
Yeah.
So explain to people what that is and why that's beneficial to you
Right.
if you are a minority or woman-owned business.
Right. And that's connected to our Black Entrepreneurship Initiative because
more people need to know about that.
Right. We want to make sure that if you have a small business and you want to diversify your revenue stream, notice I said diversify. That means you're already making money and you want to actually increase your revenues. You can look at government as an opportunity to do that. And what that means is that the city of New York and other municipalities, it's not just New York, we spend, in New York City, we spend anywhere between $15 and $20 billion. That's your tax dollars to run the city. Everything from paper to chairs to cars to whatever it is, we have to buy it. We don't produce anything. So if you're a small business and you actually want to benefit from that spend, you need to learn how to sell to government. Now, one of the challenges that we have is a lot of people don't know how to start. So we have courses on selling to government. And then when they do start, we need to make sure that we address the capital issue. because one of the other things that we're trying to do is speed up the length of time it takes to pay a vendor. So if you provided us, if you've provided us, for example, the Parks Department, every year they have to manufacture uniforms for the lifeguards. That's a bid that goes out. And if you're a clothing manufacturer, you need to know about that. So how do you find that out? And then when you actually produce a product, you have to deliver the product. The product has to be accepted, and then and only then are you going to get paid. That could be anywhere between 2 and 3 months.
And that's not fair. That's not right.
So that is one of the things
that's what we have to change.
Right. So we're speeding up the process in terms of how long it takes a contract to register. We created a specific fund for companies that are contracting with New York City. So you can borrow up to $1 million at a 3% interest rate. And you could do the math really quickly. That's almost like free money.
Right.
But you have to have a contract.
But that's the bad thing about it. And that's why I always feel like they push out definitely the minority businesses, the small mom and pop businesses, because now, like let's say the lifeguard clothing.
Yep.
You want it now, right?
Right.
So now I got to put my money up front to get this clothing done now.
That is correct.
Then when I put in my invoice, you saying it takes 30 to 60 days, 90 days if you're a new vendor. That's 3-4 months to get my money. Now, how the hell am I going to stay alive? I'm a small business. But I used all my money to print these thousands of lifeguard uniforms.
Right.
And now I don't get my money for 4 months. I'm going to be closed. I'm out of business.
But that's why you have to be prepared to actually sell to government or even corporations. It's not just government that has long extended payment periods. I know a lot of freelancers who do work for
we wait forever to get paid,
and you're waiting 90, sometimes 180 days.
Yeah, I mean it happens to me too.
So you need to understand your cash flow, right? So if you are dependent on that particular contract in order to get paid, I would tell you don't contract with government or don't contract with that corporation because they're not going to pay you that quickly.
Hell no.
But if you have like additional cash flow coming in from one side,
right,
then you can wait until that revenue because that's guaranteed revenue. So that's why I said diversify your revenue stream. That's why it's important for you. If you have a business plan, then okay, in year 2 is when I could step into government contracting because I will have like a solid. Now, I know everybody's going to say, well, that's still unfair. Why are you floating government? And we are working on speeding up that process.
Yeah, you got to pay people faster. Y'all got the money. They got the money.
Until then, but we have to make sure that the product that you
sent
in actually makes sense.
It's not the quality that you had promised, or it's not what you said it was, and now you got paid.
But once I deliver and y'all see that the quality, I should get paid in a week or so. Because all it is I put the invoice in, an attorney looks at the invoice, they send it to accountant cuts the check. That doesn't take 3 months.
No. But then in this case, the union has to accept the uniform to make sure that it's cut properly. We have to make sure you built it by spec. There's a lot of that's why sometimes, and that's why I tell folks, if you're thinking about contracting with government, you have to be ready as a business.
Right.
There's a lot of opportunities. I've seen a lot of companies flourish and actually. That revenue coming from the government side stabilizes the operations of the company.
That could save your business if you have enough to be able to wait for those months. That could be something that could be really lucrative.
Right.
I did actually take some courses at the SBS.
I know, even though I told you, you didn't need to, but
I came by. Yes, and listen, because I think it is important if you want to be an entrepreneur and that's a priority to you to know about all these things assets that are available to you and educate yourself on it. I don't want to send somebody to take these classes and they know what they're doing and I don't know what I'm doing.
Right.
And then if that person's not working with you anymore, I'm lost and I'm stuck. So it is important to know those things. And it was helpful for me to learn how I can actually do these government bids and, make my business flourish.
Right.
And that's what I'm working on now.
And we're trying to, knowledge is power. And that's one of the reasons why I appreciate this platform to specifically reach our community and make sure that, not only do folks know that these resources are available, that they're no cost, but that we are intentionally seeking out Black individuals who are either thinking about starting a business, running a business to actually help us design the next set of programs that we're going to launch next year.
Well, I'm completely in support. You know that.
Yes,
so
and
whatever
I appreciate
it is that I can do.
I appreciate it.
Because there's a lot of things that are very life-changing that the small business services can offer you. And like you said, it's not just in New York City that this exists, but this bureau is in all cities.
So we have similar, New York City is a well-resourced city. So we're one of the few cities that we have a local agency that's specifically looking for
specifically.
Yeah, that is like it's early Monday morning. That's specifically looking at what we can do in the 5 boroughs But that does not mean that there isn't resources available in your community. All you need to do is, SCORE is out there. Small Business Development Centers are out there. That's funded by your federal tax dollars. And
so you're paying for it anyway.
Right. And their job is to make it easier for you to actually run your business in your local community. But in New York City, our focus is really building and addressing that wealth gap here in New York City. So if folks are interested in just general services, they can go to nyc.gov/SBS, and you can find all the programs that we have available, not just for entrepreneurs, but for job seekers as well.
Yep.
But if you are thinking about starting a business and you're a Black entrepreneur, we want you to go to nyc.gov/BENYC and join our mailing list, sign up and take the survey, because your information is going to help design programs that we are going to launch in 2020 for Black entrepreneurs to address all the issues that we know our Black community faces.
I was blown away by how many people showed up too for the kickoff event at the Apollo.
We had
packed.
Literally we had over 1,600 RSVPs for the Apollo event, which goes back to the national trends that we see, that Black individuals are 50 times more likely to want to start a business. So entrepreneurship is not something that we are afraid of. Actually, we want to be entrepreneurs, but all the systemic barriers that I talked about prevents us, and that's what cuts down that number to then only 50% of those folks launching businesses. And then you run into the capital issue. You run into, the legal issues or whatever it is. Your attorney didn't sign a paper or whatever it is. So all these things we provide free resources to help you, so we can actually help you succeed after 5 years.
All right. Well, we appreciate you for joining us.
Yes, I think this is great, valuable information for us to have. So, guys, make sure you take advantage of this, because, again, your taxpayer dollars are going toward this anyway. Now, what's the website one more time?
So it's nyc.gov/BENYC, BNYC, nyc.gov/BNYC.
And we appreciate you for joining us and helping us.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
All right. It's Gregg Bishop, Commissioner of New York City Department of Small Businesses. It's the Breakfast Club. Good morning.